And welcome to the Money Puzzle. My name is Cynthia DeFazio, and I'm joined today by Brian Ramsey and Eric McAndrew of Family Wealth Planning Partners. Aaron, how are you today?
Doing well, thank you.
It's great to see you.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. Happy to have you here. Brian, how are you?
I'm doing really well. We were just talking. I'm a little chilly, but I'm good.
I know, me too. It is a little chilly today.
It is.
Well, I'm so excited about being with you both today, obviously in the studio, because I know that you've been so incredibly busy. You're so passionate about helping others retire comfortably, retire with confidence, and most importantly, putting their money puzzle together piece by piece. Brian, let's talk a little bit about what's behind us right now.
Yeah, so the money puzzle was a creation we came up with because it does involve your overall financial plan, or your financial picture is made up of little pieces, and they all need to kind of fit together. A lot of times, folks don't put that together, where it's like, oh, I know if I make this selection or make that decision, it could affect something else. And so what our role is in putting your money puzzle together is to make sure that all the pieces of the puzzles fit together. And today, specifically, we're talking about retirement income, and that is made up of lots of different pieces of the puzzle. So we're going to be talking about just what that looks like, and we're going to talk about timing on when you turn those resources on. So today should be a really good show, but just know that the topics we're talking about today is just one piece of this overall puzzle, and it all has to fit together.
Absolutely, Brian. Thank you so much. And obviously, Aaron, I love our topic today. It is permanent, predictable income sources in retirement. That is wonderful. Everyone loves that. They love the guarantee. So let's talk about that a little bit. What are some of the guaranteed sources?
Yep. First, I'm just going to talk about the definition of that. So it's just exactly like what it says. So permanent, it's going to be with you for as long as you're alive, as long as you're living. Okay, it's there. Predictable, we know the amount. We know that it's coming every single month. It's happening. You're going to get it, and it's obviously income in retirement. So that's why we like to refer to it as permanent and predictable income, because it's exactly what it is.
Okay.
One of the sources is the most common source that most people have is Social Security.
Ooh, okay, big one.
Yep. Big one. So Social Security is the most common source of permanent predictable income. It's the difference in Social Security is not everybody turns it on at the same time. Not everyone's going to need to turn on at the same time. Doesn't make sense. There's not one golden rule as to when you turn Social Security on. So that's a big question when it comes to when we're planning for somebody's income. Is sometimes we get clients that come in that have already turned Social Security on. Sometimes we get clients that don't know when to turn Social Security on, and that's the reason why they're coming to us is to help them decide what makes the most sense in their plan. So Social Security is one of them. Another big source of permanent and predictable income is pensions. So a lot of times, especially around our area and Louisville and in the southern Indiana area, we have a lot of teachers. And teachers do have pensions.
Okay.
And the pensions in Kentucky are not made the same as the pensions in Indiana.
Okay.
So there are some people that might receive pensions from the government. They also could receive the Social Security on top of the pensions if they've been paying in. And then there's some companies that are left, believe it or not, that do have pension plans. So you may have a private organization that offers you a pension when you retire. So that could be another source of permanent and predictable income. And then the third one is there are investment products, insurance products, that allow people to create their own permanent and predictable income. So we're going to talk a little bit about all three of those today, but those are the main sources.
Perfect. Brian, I'd like to talk a little bit about Social Security, because obviously Aaron mentioned that there's different strategies and ways to file. And of course, Aaron mentioned some people coming in, they've already turned it on. Are they doing that because they have a little bit of apprehension or fear that perhaps it's going away in the future? Or do they not know exactly when to turn it on when someone is claiming early?
Yeah, so I would say that what we find often is people just don't know how to select Social Security. They don't know how it actually fits into their puzzle.
Yeah.
Because turning Social Security on is a piece of the puzzle, but it's all about timing.
Sure.
And so that's what we find is people are like, oh, it's 62 or 65. I'm just going to turn it on. They really don't know how that ultimately affects them.
Yeah.
And so another sort of misconception is, well, if I turn it on at 62, the break even, we always hear that term, what's the break even? The break even is, well, if I live to 70, I'm better off turning on at 62. And, and so that's not how you should view it. It really is turning Social Security on should be all about timing of when you're turning on all your sources for income, not just Social Security.
Okay.
Because Social Security is affected, I think we're going to wind up doing a show on Social Security, as a matter of fact, or at least some pieces of it. So we're going to go to a little bit more detail. But, there are consequences if you turn it on and you're still working. Social Security is taxed depending on how much earned income you have or income you have for that particular year. And in some cases, I'll give you an example. So we had a client that came in. He's a client now. It wasn't a client at the time, but he came in and we were doing specifically a retirement income analysis, which is what we're doing right now.
Okay.
That's why he came in. And so we were talking about the resources for permanent predictable income, and we were talking about Social Security. And we showed him that turning Social Security on, because he was going to turn it on 65, 66, which is about a year before as when he was retiring, which is about a year before his full retirement age for Social Security benefits. But we showed him, let's take a look at you turning it on when you want to versus turning it on at 70. And so we said, okay, well, let's just look at the difference because he had very long longevity on his side of the family. So we showed him that it might make sense for you to turn on your Social Security at age 70 and turn on the non-predictable, non-permanent income sources from 67 to 70.
Okay.
And so we just ran the scenario and said, let's look at what the ultimate outcome is. And that's our job. And everything that we do, our job is to provide the information to clients so they can make an educated decision. So he was just like, oh, well, I retired, I should turn Social Security on. Not necessarily. And so when we walked him through that information and we gave him the information to make a decision, then he said, oh yeah, hey, this makes a lot of sense. I now see how delaying my Social Security benefits and taking turning on the non-permanent, non-predictable income sources makes a lot of sense.
Okay. All right, Brian, thank you so much. Aaron, is that often a topic of conversation when people come into the office for the very first time? Let's say they heard from a friend at the water cooler that they were going to turn it on at a certain age and that they should do the same?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Actually, we're going to be doing another show on some of the common misconceptions or some DIY mistakes that people do, and that is typically the biggest one that I hear is I have to turn it on at 62 because in order the amount of money that I'm going to make from 62 paying Social Security up until 75 or 76 when I'm going to break even, I have to live that much longer in order to make that money back. So, and again, just kind of piggyback on what Brian just said is not necessarily. So when we're looking at retirement and we're looking at a retirement income plan, we are backing into how much money they're going to need to live off of, and we account for things like inflation. We account for health expenses going up as we get older. Okay. So we account for those items, and we want to try to get as much of that money that they're trying to live off of that they need for immediate living expenses to be permanent and predictable. So those are some items that we discuss in these meetings with them to back into these numbers for them.
Thank you so much, Aaron. Brian, I know that you and Aaron have a very special offer to present to the viewers at home today. Let's talk about what that is before we open the phone lines.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so today it's pretty simple. We're talking about retirement income planning, and so that's what our offer is. We are offering anyone that calls in today an opportunity to come in and schedule a meeting with us, and we're going to develop a retirement income plan. That income plan has three specific things that we look at. Number one, we're going to look at what are your sources of income in retirement. There's two different types that we're talking about, which is permanent predictable income and non-permanent non-predictable income. So we're going to evaluate what those are. Number two, we're going to talk about timing. It's very important to turn those income sources on and understand what the timing is of when to turn those on. And then third, we want to look at what is the probability that those income sources that you have, what is the probability of those income sources providing you the income that you need from the day you retire until the day you're no longer here. And so that's what our offer is. But keep in mind that the retirement income plan is just one piece of your overall puzzle. Yes, we're going to evaluate everything else. We're going to look at your risk management. We're going to look at your investment strategy and your estate plan. We're going to do all that. We just happen today to be talking about retirement income sources. So if you find yourself in a position where you're 5 years or a couple of years away from retirement and you've not gone through the process of determining what your income sources are and what the timing is going to be to when to turn them on and what's the probability of those income sources supporting you from the day you retire until the day you pass away, come in and see us. That's what the offer is, and allow us the opportunity to help you start down that path of financial freedom. And we just believe that the path to financial freedom starts with completing your money puzzle, and that's what we're offering is an opportunity for you to come in and allow us to complete your money puzzle.
Brian, thank you so much. Aaron, thank you so much. To the viewers at home, the phone number to call is on your screen. That number is 844-900-5210. We know that you have a lot of questions for Brian and Aaron about how to plan your perfect retirement, how those pieces of the puzzle are going to fit for you. All you have to do is pick up the phone and call in today at 844-900-5210. We're going to take a very short commercial break, but when we come back, I'm going to talk to Aaron and Brian a little bit more in depth about pensions and how those will help going forward. Stay tuned.
How confident are you in your current financial plan? Do you know with certainty how the recent market volatility will affect your future hopes and dreams? How much are you paying in taxes? And how much are you losing to unnecessary high fees? You didn't work to save this money so that you could spend your time worried in retirement. Now is the time to take charge of your finances so you can feel confident about your future. Call in during the next 30 minutes of today's show only to set up an absolutely complimentary, no obligation, full-blown financial review that will result in your own customized written plan. This is a $999 value that we're giving away complimentary to the first 10 people who respond. We'll start with a full-blown analysis of what you already have. By running a report to untangle how much you are currently paying in fees, how you're allocated for risk, and what it's costing to work with your current advisor. Next, we'll identify your goals. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Where do you want to go, and who do you hope to go there with? Is your current financial plan set up to get you there without mishap? Let's design a roadmap to create a financial plan you can follow with confidence. Get the piece that so many people are missing from their retirement. Find out how having a written plan can make a difference to your retirement dreams. Call now to schedule your complimentary, no obligation, full-blown financial review today.
And welcome back to the Money Puzzle. My name is Cynthia DeFazio, and I'm joined today by Brian Ramsey and Aaron McAndrew of Family Wealth Planning Partners. Gentlemen, a great show that we're having today talking about permanent, predictable income sources. Brian, I want to talk to you a little bit about how that planning process first works. How do you help people get their pieces of the puzzle aligned?
Right. Yeah, so the very first step is, and a lot of people think, the first step is going to be, well, I need to determine what my Social Security is going to be. And that's not necessarily the case. The first step when we walk through this is determine what your income need is. Unfortunately, people have to do a budget. I know that's sort of a scary word for a lot of people.
I like spending plan better.
Yeah, I get it. Well, we can call it that. We should call it that as opposed to a budget. But no, we have to understand exactly what it is that your lifestyle need is going to be.
Yeah.
So let's just, as an example, just for easy math, because I like easy math. Let's say that somebody comes in and says, hey, my monthly income need or my lifestyle is $5,000 a month. That's really the first number we need to identify. What's our goal? What's our target? What are we trying to shoot for? Our next step is to identify what our sources of permanent predictable income. Social Security, pensions, insurance products can all be the sources we've already talked about that can provide that source of permanent predictable income.
Okay.
So in this scenario, let's say that we've asked the client to go out and get their Social Security numbers. And again, for easy math, because I like easy math, let's say that their Social Security benefit is $2,000 a month.
Okay.
So now we've got a $5,000 budget that we've got to meet. We know that one part of their permanent predictable income source is $2,000 a month. So now we only have to cover $3,000 a month. So we know we've got sources of non-permanent, non-predictable income, meaning 401ks, IRAs, Roth IRAs. So we've got that pool of money. And what we try to do is determine, out of that pool of money, is there any need for us to go back and establish another source of permanent predictable income? Because we can do that. And so that's what we just have a conversation with the client and say, well, let's see what it takes to then establish, again, easy math, $1,000 a month of permanent predictable income. So what pool of money do we have to pull from in order to satisfy that need? So let's just say that, now we've established that. So we've got the 3,000 of it taken care of. Now we have everything left over that is what we call non-permanent, non-predictable income. And what is the probability of that pool of money providing the $2,000 you need, adjusted for inflation, from the day you retire until the day you pass away? That's sort of that's the steps.
Okay, I love that. When you explain it, it sounds so easy and wonderful to understand. So thank you so much for shedding some light on that, Brian. Aaron, I want to jump back in a little bit into the pension that we were talking about, obviously, and the different types of pensions that people would have. Do you ever have people coming in to talk about taking a lump sum option?
Yes, absolutely we do. A lot of, especially these are more common in the private pensions a lot. They'll do the buyout options, and then obviously there are other pensions that have buyout options, but there are multiple options for pension income. So one is a lump sum option where it allows the participant or the person receiving the pension to take a lump sum of money, and then at that point in time they can kind of do whatever they would like to do with that. In some situations that does make sense for a couple of reasons. One is when they take a lump sum of money out, they take control over that money. If for some reason something happens to them, let's say they take the lump sum option and they pass away 2 months later, okay, they now can pass that money on to their heirs, their beneficiaries.
Okay.
Right? If they were to take a single life payout on the pension, which is another pension income option that they'd have, if in the same scenario, if they were to pass away 2 months later, it's gone. There's typically no death benefit on that.
Wow. Okay.
So, and again, not all pensions are the same. Just like we were talking about Social Security earlier, nothing's, Social Security is not always the same. But there are multiple options on the payout for pensions. So there's ways to do joint life. Now, joint life payout would be, if it was for me, example, I turn my pension on and I have a spouse. My wife, if something happens to me, my wife would continue to receive some sort of a payment, and usually there's variations of those pension payment options. There's 100%, which is going to be your lowest level pension payout. There's usually a 50% survivor benefit where they continue to receive monthly payment, but it's at half of what the cost is, or half of the income payment that you would receive while I was living. And then there's usually like a 2/3 option or a 75%, somewhere in the middle there, an option which again provides a little bit higher payout than what the full 100% would be. So pensions are not easily understandable typically. I usually, when a client comes in, they'll bring a pack of big their options down here, stack of papers, and they'll say, "Hey, help me understand this."
Yeah.
So.
Brian?
Yeah, so I'll just add one quick piece to that.
Yeah.
So exactly what Aaron was talking about is why we do a financial plan for every client.
Yes.
And why we put this puzzle together to say, how does this pension fit into your world, your specific situation? I'll give you 2 examples. We had a now client, a prospective client that came in that has a pension. She's about a year and a half or so away, or at the time, away from retiring. And she said, hey, I've got this opportunity to either get this really high payout for a pension, or I've got this lump sum, which was a significant amount. She's like, what should I do? And I go, I don't know, but we're going to run the numbers and show you. So we ran the numbers to say, here's what it looks like if you take the lifetime income, and it was for joint life, but here's the option if you took a lump sum. And her plan was successful either way.
Wow.
It made no difference. And we told her, it makes no difference which option you take. The odds of you running out of money are very slim, meaning your money's going to survive you either way. And we just started talking. We said, well, here's the good and the pros and cons, if you will, of taking the lifetime income. Here's the pros and cons of walking through what a lump sum looks like. And she made the right decision. But the only reason why she made the decision is because we literally did a financial plan and showed her both scenarios to say it's not going to make a financial difference which way you go.
Wow.
It's just which you prefer. Another example is, this is about a year ago, we had a client came in that was ready to retire, again, with a pension, had a lump sum option, and we sat down and we said, okay, let's look at the scenario. This particular client, they needed the lifetime income. They just needed it. So what we did was we ran through scenario after scenario after scenario to show them, to give them the information they needed. And what he decided to do was pretty unique. We see this occasionally, but it's not that common.
Okay.
But he actually he was married, he took a single life payout. But he took the difference, and it wasn't quite the entire difference between single life and joint life, but he took that difference and we bought a whole life policy so that if something were to happen to him, his wife would get the proceeds of that life insurance policy.
Wow.
So the numbers just worked out.
Yeah.
And we walked him through the scenario, and we said, hey, here's the difference if you get a lump sum, here's the difference if you keep it. And his decision was, I want to take the lifetime income and get the life insurance policy. So that's just another scenario that his puzzle was a little bit different than the first client we talked about.
Yeah.
And the only reason why we know that is because we literally walked through a financial plan.
That's fantastic. I know you have a lot of stories like that, and I love hearing this. I know the viewers do too, because it shows how you're helping people every single day create the retirement plan of their dreams.
Right.
That's invaluable.
Yep. And it goes just to show that not everybody's the same. So back to the water cooler conversation is, what works for this person that you saw at the water cooler may not be what works for you.
That
so
is
having
true.
a plan in place is what's going to be the best bet.
Well, on that note, Aaron, I know that you have a very special offer that you and Brian would like to present to the viewers at home. Let's talk about what that is and then open the phone lines for the second time.
Yep. Our offer is, if you are sitting here thinking that you're concerned about income and retirement, so what is it? When should I turn Social Security on? Maybe have I already turned Social Security on and you're thinking that, potentially that was a mistake or whatnot. If you're concerned at all about how you're receiving your income and retirement, from retirement accounts, what accounts you're going to take it from, how much do I need, what do I need to live off of, any of those concerns resonate with you, the things that we've been talking about today, give us a call. Numbers right there on the bottom of your screen, 844-900-5210. Give us a call. We'll give you a complimentary retirement income plan. We'll sit down and have this conversation with you and make it more personal for you.
Aaron, thank you so much. Brian, thank you so much. To the viewers at home, the phone number to call is on your screen. That number is 844-900-5210. We're going to take a very short commercial break, but don't go anywhere. I have so much more with Aaron and Brian when we return.
As a good saver, you've been putting away money during your working years. Studies find that the biggest fear of retirees is running out of money. Market volatility isn't just the downward movement of stock prices, it's the size and frequency of change. The more dramatic the ups and downs, the higher the volatility. This can put savers who are newly retired or a few years away from being retired at greater risk. Today's generation of retirees is not receiving traditional pensions as our parents or grandparents did. Instead, we have retirement accounts such as 401ks or 403bs. These accounts typically expose your money to market risk. The last thing you want right before retirement is to lose a portion of the money you need for income. But how do you turn these accounts into a retirement income? Is it safe to keep all your retirement money sitting in the stock market? The last thing you want is to lose a portion of the money you need for income due to market loss. By working with a financial professional, you can learn how to turn a portion of your savings into an income stream for life and income for the life of your spouse if you're married. We all have moments in our lives when we wish we had taken action sooner. Don't let procrastination reign on your retirement parade. Act now before it's too late. Please call our office to set up your no-cost, no-obligation retirement income review today.
And welcome back to the Money Puzzle. My name is Cynthia DeFazio, and I'm joined today by Brian Ramsey and Aaron McAndrew of Family Wealth Planning Partners. Gentlemen, a wonderful show we're having today, talking about, of course, the permanent predictable income sources. Brian, how do you start turning those on? How do you help people decide what to do and when to do it?
Yeah, so we talked a little bit about Social Security, that it is very specific to your situation. What I want to focus on right now is that if you remember back early in the show, I talked about, we had the Social Security and then we turned on an insurance product that would give you permanent predictable income. And what I want to do is to give you sort of how we set that up. So we had a client, this has been a number of years ago, and a lot of these insurance products, you got to give it time to grow. You can't just flip a switch and say, okay, now I want this turned on. So it's better if you have 5 to 10 years available to you to allow this thing to develop, okay?
Okay.
So what we did was we identified that she had a life insurance policy that she wanted. It was a whole life policy, meaning it was there until she passed away, so it was going to pay out. But she had to pay premium payments her entire life to keep that policy in place. And so what we did was we created an insurance product and we designed it to specifically account for that particular premium payment for the rest of her life when she retired. So I think it was, again, easy math. I like easy math.
Yep.
So let's say that it was right around $1,000 a month. I think it was a little bit less than that, but let's just keep it $1,000 a month. So this was about 8 years prior to her retiring, and she's a couple of years away. So we did this about 4 or 5 years ago. But what we did was we designed it and said, okay, we know we want that particular permanent predictable income to make that payment for that life insurance policy. That's not going to change because it's a level premium her entire life. So we went back and designed the product to say, okay, how much do we have to put in that product today in order for this particular year to give us $1,000 a month for the rest of her life? So that's how we designed it. We went through the process, walked through it, showed it to her, and said, hey, here's how much we have to put into this particular product to then, when you retire, we'll flip a switch and that product will make that premium payment for her for the rest of her life. So it's sort of, she set it and forget it, if you will. I know it's sort of an infomercial statement, but that's kind of what we did, right? Put it in place, we set it, and now she can just forget about it and doesn't ever have to worry about it again. So that's a good thing. The other thing I want to talk about, we're talking about permanent predictable income is, I mentioned this earlier and I didn't get a chance to expand on it, so I'm going to take a quick second.
Yes, we have about 45 seconds
I'll take
left.
a quick second, I promise.
Sorry, Brian.
I know, I looked over the clock. I'm like, okay, I'm counting down here. No, it's the decision between Social Security and 401k.
Yeah.
Okay, that's, should I take Social Security? Should I take money out of my 401k? And again, that is a piece of the puzzle that you really have to get engaged with and complete your money puzzle to know when to turn those on.
Brian, thank you so much. Aaron, thank you so much. To the viewers at home, the phone number to call is on your screen. That number is 844-900-5210. Let's put your money puzzle together. Again, thank you for watching 844-900-5210. Be safe, be happy, and be blessed.